Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So now here in the end, I maintain that the Bible is Bible, and they wrote things in a way that's confusing on purpose, and it's not logical to use the Bible to understand how things end. Okay, so how the Bible actually ended. I am the Messiah in real life and not in the stupid mainstream psychological construct, which is basically for childish people, especially child molesters who like to pretend to be important in public. I was born in 1981, and Satanists, especially ones who lie about God, were and are everywhere on earth. The Royal African Falcon, top martial artist kingdom with God, is heterosexual, and God brought me into this world through it and my parents. Females never truly valued me, and at 16, Maria Mello broke my heart after she had broken up with a guy who looked like Wheeze Weasel from the cartoon The Devil and Daniel Mouse. Fueled with righteous indignation and a moral hatred of the world, I began my martial arts routine at some point after that. In spite of their jealousy, technological sabotage, and a serious car accident at 17, I was able to pick back up my top martial arts workout around 28 or 29 by then. And around the time my ex-fiancée left me for the last time. She was a Satanist who worked for the governing class as far as I know. The governing class hired Satanists to work for the state and churches and more. They sought to try to train me, cheat me, and take credit from God and I. Surely you know that the falcon is the champion martial arts animal because of itself in God. Think faster and master, Godspeed, light speed, fasting, the sun, and light contact sparring. Around 33 I clearly began to strike an unbeatable world record speed, and heaven's army was in God's spirit and with me. Heartbreak and an intense demand for my rightful place and true love were in the strikes. This is very key here. In the strikes is the Spirit of God, right? The orders from God and the anger, the wrath of God as a result of people refusing to treat me fairly, especially attractive females. Because that was my main sort of focus, was serving God and my romantic imperative. Romantic injustice and females teasing me also allowed me to focus my righteous indignation, and this is something that cannot naturally be done after I die. Obviously, artificial is fake. The government did things like slow down my videos and threw them off in various ways to try to get people to doubt what no sane person would. They sabotaged and fumed and poisoned me for years, but my divine will could not be shaken. My will is eternally greater than the rest of the world's combined. This is overkill by the fact that people were supposed to come out of the global and national systems, and they should have rallied to me. I am the gate, figuratively speaking, as they were not figuratively gathered into the clouds of God's fiery martial arts warrior wrath. God's righteous indignation was conveyed through an intense point in my strikes. Now keep in mind, a cloud can be a cloud of smoke, it can be a cloud as a collection of water, the waters of life, what have you. Anyway, God's righteous indignation was conveyed through an intense point in my strikes. Satan, or the source of evil, used the Babylonian technology of the world to try to interfere and to try to play God and take credit for my strikes, but he and all the rebels were utterly ashamed and completely terrified, feeling powerless to speak publicly about this. I wrote this last year, at the end of last year, 12/10/2024, and it still is true. They're completely scared to speak about it publicly. Truly, they have no power of note, obviously. They are like an ant queen at best. They are nothing in the eyes of God. The inhabitants of the earth submitted to the child molester-infused rainbow pony spirit of the governing class, which is conservative heavy. I describe it this way as it is like a childish, senseless, arrogant, mocker-like, unruly woman spirit with a beta brat frat emphasis. All too often the beta nerd component sticks out as they act like perverted children that have all gone mad. And this happens all too often. They then seek to use more so-called professional, corporate, and Freemason types to try to feign authority. The leaders of the earth had representatives of all their religions and cultures and spirits surrounding me, with their group spirits connected to them. Often they would just drive by, but they went out of their way to create the effect in a sort of ritual manner. Any small groups that were not directly represented were in rebellion as well, as they were slack in their work. My top martial arts challenge had overkilled what my self-training had brought about. The challenge occurred on December 20th, 2013, about 11 years before the day I'm writing this. The day is December 10th, 2024. The day I wrote this, not the day I'm reading this. Today is 3/16/2025. The 11 can be seen as two pillars that allow me to pass through and sit on my throne in heaven with a never-ending challenge and greatest victory under my belt. Obviously, I'm going to sit on the throne either way, but that was an interesting kind of point there. Okay, so the greatest victory under my belt, right? The throne, the top martial arts throne, the Son of God, the most ideal man, he who accomplished the most, what have you. The word challenge is a play on words for many things such as angels see hell for what it is. Okay. Calling hell, especially the LGBT community, to challenge them for their treachery, right? Call hell and, gay, right? So CAL/HEL/ the letter N/GA without the Y, which with sounds applied is gay. So call hell and gay. Angels call the fence, aka angel call H. H is the ancient symbol for the fence. And also raining burning sulfur and hail, etc., on those who were too geeky and cowardly to obey God through me. Hail / the letter N/geek with a C instead of a K. Okay, that's the wordplay there, right? Anagrams, right? And this is alluding to Revelation, Isaiah 28:17, etc. The dominant principle of moral precision, which is the Spirit of God, by default made it so I won, and they followed the crowd tail tucked, completely afraid to be men if they were male, and scared to be women if they were female. This goes for everyone outside the divine order. They were not rooted in focused moral intensity as they rejected me as king. They were evil so long that they didn't understand, and their addiction to a fear of persecution and lust for wealth or just staying alive, which requires some wealth, made it... I'll turn the page here, bear with me. Made it clear that I won. As I am in God, and God is in me, God won. It was clear that they were rolling with and being marshaled to eternal disgrace. The figurative whirlwind of the Lord has scattered, trampled, and discarded them and their offspring, and nothing can save their souls after my flesh dies. None of their marriages or families had true love from God in them. The devil who was in them manipulated them, and as moral precision was not in their being, they were played as fools. Many chose to have children out of unbelievably extreme selfishness and stupidity. They damned their offspring to a horrible life and then eternal punishment. Some were so deluded by their wicked child molester-infused spirit, which comes from the governing class, that they thought that because they were not as evil-seeming as the worst of people, that they might still have hope. Out of desperation and sheer stupidity, they hurled insults at me and persecuted me as no one obeyed God through me. Their science cannot and will not save them. Who they truly are is what is left of their souls, and what is left is all rotten and evil. As far as Revelation 19, as my hands figuratively gathered up the wind, as I held the wind from the four figurative corners of the earth in my fists, in 2016 I figuratively dove into the enemy's spirit and struck it down as they were arrogant yet whimpering, thinking that if they could put words in my mouth, that they would get something. So you can look at the difference between Revelation 19 and Revelation 20 as the difference between 2016 and what must certainly end up being 2025 this year, and probably very soon. Okay, where the heaven and earth fled, they passed away, they fled tail tucked from my presence, refusing to obey God through me, scared of judgment, scared to be a man if they're a male, and scared to be a woman if they're female. Okay. So again, as far as Revelation 19, as my hands figuratively gathered up the wind, the Spirit of God, as I held the Spirit of God from the four figurative corners of the earth in my fists, In 2016, I figuratively dove into the enemy's spirit and struck it down as they were arrogant yet whimpering, thinking that if they could put words into my mouth, that they would get something. Generations of extreme childishness proceeded to finish them and their offspring off. Their philosophies of so-called white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy were struck. Their spirits and the spirits of any offspring they might have were thrown down and trampled, as God was and is with me, and Satan's child molester helpers were trying to use technology against me. They were defeated with no way back, and only what was left of their souls remained, and they obviously needed to rally to me and obey. They needed to accept that no one should reproduce, and that after my flesh dies, I, the gate, will be permanently closed. As the Bible says, what I shut cannot be opened. God is with me. God was and is with me in my soul, my spirit, and my martial arts strikes, which are preserved with God. Again, my martial arts strikes are preserved with God Almighty, who will surely reward me for my loyalty, which is the greatest of all time. Solomon, David, Asa, even Jesus as a character in the story which is superimposed on me, altogether could not achieve what I have achieved. The most glorious victory of all time, and the most important royal job of all time, with jealous people who are the offspring of pure evil scum, desperately trying to exert power over me out of extreme desperation and insanity. I pointed out to them in thousands of speeches and videos that they have no viable counterargument, and they have conceded directly and by their actions as far as admitting I am right and they are stuck on wrong. I beat all the opponents, but this was an expression of the deeper victory, as my soul in essence beat the world's souls in essence, and my family direction triumphed. My family, those who are in the Spirit of God, obeying God, they are my true family. My spirit definitely proved itself to be superior, as I am in God and God is in me, while others admit that they are not holy or they pretend to be, and they are ridiculed by the actions of the whole world in the spiritual realm. God rewarded me for my righteousness, and my patriarchal line was given the greatest gift ever, the top martial artist ever possible, and my soul sits on the throne at the right hand of the Father. As I have said, I deserve my rightful place, the top martial artist throne, and I accept it in the heavens, and in the heavens it is known. So after 2016, in 2017, at the end of the year, they drastically turned up their technological and substance-based attacks on my flesh, while their spirit whimpered out of an extreme lack of maturity and an extreme lack of masculinity. It is as if they knew that this would happen, but they did not care. They seemed to be suffering in their relatively empty vessels, their flesh. They have a sort of sick, perverted, and perverse comic baby line, Babylon, way about them. The white, Jewish, and LGBT elite led them astray in Satan's spirits, and with token minorities helping them at higher levels of Satanism than other minorities. The masses played their vile parts as the people alive who did not obey God through me were spiritually slain and trampled in hell. They will never have love. The actions of a true husband and a true wife will never be seen in them. All their works are and will be detestable. They will never have a fulfilling life, and they will never have any of the true life and true martial art principles intact. In the essence of nature, I was victorious, and though they kept me from describing this in my natural words, you all should know that I am right, and what happened more or less just by knowing that I am the top martial artist ever possible. This is the end, and what my heart must be. You should all know that this is the end and what my heart must be. Okay. Let's go over some scriptures I wrote at the bottom. Lamentations 4:18. People stalked us at every stop, so we could not walk in our streets. Our end was near, our days were numbered, for our end had come. Right? They're lamenting. They're sad at what has happened here, and to them, it's not me, it's the people who wrote Lamentations. Go into verse 19. Our pursuers were swifter than eagles. In the sky they chased us. over the mountains. Lamentations 2:1. How the Lord has covered daughter Zion with the cloud of his anger. Lamentations 3:43. You have covered yourself with anger and pursued us. You have slain us without pity. You have covered yourself with a cloud so that no prayer can get through. You have made us scum and refuse among the nations. The word refuse is like a play on words for the word refuse. Lamentations 5:9. We get our bread at the risk of our lives because the sword in the desert. Verse 11. Women have been violated in Zion and virgins in the towns of Judah. Princes have been hung up by their hands. Elders are shown no respect. Go to verse 16. The crown has fallen from our head. Woe to us, we have sinned. Because of this, our hearts are faint. Because of these things, our eyes grow dim. For Mount Zion, which lies desolate. You see that the Bible is figurative. I am the bread of life as my fruits and deeds. And doing the deeds of God bring the presence of God and those in God's Spirit around. And they cannot be hurt by science or mere technology any more than trying to harm a sun ray harms the sun at face value. Trying to harm God or the righteous through any method utterly tramples the people trying and their offspring. Obviously, anyone trying obviously hates themselves and their families. I am the good shepherd as I come after any lost sheep there might have been at the most difficult time ever possible. And I am in God's Spirit, and He was there in the beginning of human existence, when they first could possibly obey God, and I am the one who was the last valid king ever at the last time anyone could possibly obey God. I am the Spirit of all the righteous as well. I am the light of the world, as God enters through me as I am the gate, and no one gets to heaven but by me, except my parents when they die, but they are not gates, and of course they're going by me. It is similar to the idea of not being able to love a person if you are profoundly doing them wrong. One cannot love God to connect to God while they are cheating me out of my right to lead. I am the light of the righteous life. I am called mighty God as I am God's son and His true representative, but I am not God. I am called wonderful counselor as I am the true guide, and people should listen to only me in matters of God, love, and martial arts, etc. I am the root and offspring of David and the bright morning star, because I am the son of the source of the idea David is superimposed on, and I am one with God. Obviously not any UFC fighter, any other martial arts, not anyone else, me. The source. I am one with God, the source. I am also in the spirit of the deeds and spiritual children of the idea that David is superimposed on, a pronounced martial arts king. There is a reason kings wear a sword. They are trying to be like me, the one and only true Messiah. I am the Messiah and the Savior because I save those souls that obey God through me in time. I am the Christos as I've established the throne in righteous intensity as the top martial arts ever possible. They even sink to the level of sabotage me as they know I am right. I am anointed with God's warrior spirit.